Hey everybody, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com, and quite a while ago someone asked me if I would be able to show them how to make the 2 boxes that were featured in the annual catalog with the parcels and post bundle. Now I didn't buy the entire bundle, I just got the perfect parcel dies a week or so ago. So these actually, there's lots of other things that go with these. You can cut out these little tags. There's a couple great, so you could cut this out and then cut out the layer of it. There's a couple great things you could use also for sentiments. It does have some really nice sentiments with the stamp set. And then there are some flowers as well. But I made this using, which I think this is a really nice color combination. This is Pretty Peacock and Grapefruit Grove. So I thought today I could do one for you using Pineapple Punch and Night of Navy. I thought they would go together really nicely. So this would be a great combination for something maybe for a spring or something new in case you have this maybe and you want to make it. But if you're running out of Christmas patience and you're over Christmas, this will give you something else to make. On a side note, how adorable, I made this card. This is actually some very, very retired designer series paper, but just goes to show you, you can still bring it back. I thought this was really cute. And as always, I just told somebody about this, how I keep always making my sentiments go down. I really need to get my Stamparatus out so I have things that aren't going downhill, but I thought this was an adorable card. So really simple to make. This is a version of the card that we made the other day. In case you don't remember, I used the new stamp set, and then we also made a Christmas version. But anyway, made these for some of my little friends. So without further delay, when you have the parcels die, you actually can make 2 of these. So you cut out, you do need to cut out 2 because you have to put them together, but you can cut 2 of these from 1 sheet of cardstock. So it's a little bit tight. I'm going to see if this is right here. If I line it up, I think you can fit 2. You can fit 2 on 1/2. So if you trim this out correctly, you can get both halves kind of from a 1/2 sheet of paper because it's a little bit longer than your normal 1/2 sheet, but you can get 2 pieces from that. And then when you cut the smaller one, you actually have to cut it twice. So when I did read and went back and asked the directions for it, it's a little bit of, you kind of have to measure an eyeball because you could also make this longer if you wanted to by instead of running your plates through when you line them up. So normally, you know, when you put your plates, you'll put it over the whole thing. So if you actually wanted to make a longer box, what you would do is you could cut it to here, and then you could move this down again a little bit longer, and then cut the rest of it so you could have a longer box. But we're going to actually make a shorter box today. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you how to grab my trimmer here. Where is my trimmer? It's probably underneath this massive pile of paper I have on my desk. Oh, here it is. Geez, right next to me. How sad is that? So what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of eyeballing where I need to cut this so I can cut it to be able to get it through my die cutting machine. So I'm going to kind of line this up pretty much to the end. And we'll say just to go right, I'm just going to go just a hair past. So I'm going to cut this. I'm going to run this through once and then twice. So if you have your magnetic platform, you're just going to put this down. It is going to be, so it's a little shy of 6 inches, but I'm putting it up as far as I can. Just like that. And then, oh, good gravy. What did I do with my other cutting plate? I swear. I'm losing my marbles. So much stuff going on. There it is. So I'm going to put this here. I wish you guys could see it. There are just things sliding all over the desk here. So I'm going to run this through. All right, so here's one. Okay, so that's pretty much right to the edge, and then I'm going to run this other one through again. And this one's pretty simple to assemble. It's not quite as intuitive as you would think. So if you've done this and you can't quite figure out which side is which, I will tell you, I had a little bit of trouble figuring it out myself for the first time. So there's the 2 pieces for that. And what I ended up doing was I watched a YouTube video to make sure I wasn't losing my marbles. All right, so you are going to need to do the same thing for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this down to 6 inches. but we're going to cut this twice, so you will understand what I mean in a moment. But I had to watch the video a couple times for this just to make sense of it. So you're going to do the same thing where you're going to kind of line this up originally. Now, one thing I will tell you, and I'm actually going to cut this in half to make it a little bit more sensible. So let's see, what does this measure altogether? Probably just less than 4. So let me just do just one little inch over 4. So when you make this, if you wanted to do this and make it simpler, because the way I glued this, I don't have this little flap here because it came off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut basically up right to the edge of this flap. And even though I know that doesn't really make sense, I'm going to try doing it the other way. So I'm going to cut right to the edge here. And let's see if this will work. Because the other way you can do it is by cutting the full thing out and then measuring over 2.5. But the problem is when you do that, you don't get this little nub part down here to close it. So instead, I'm just going to grab my ruler and let's see if we go with 2.5 is right here. So I'm going to line this up. So if that 2.5 from the edge, let me see. So if this were to go here, 2.5. I'm going to put it so. So this is lining this. So I have my 0 mark lined up with the main score line, and then I'm lining the edge up at the 2.5. Now, one thing I'm going to tell you here, I probably should have partial die cut this the other way, so the flat part, but this is, we're just running it to this spot. So this is actually going to come off anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it partially this way just to get it to cut. So I'm just lining it up. So we're still not going to have a flap there. So again, this is only the first box. Actually, this one that I'm making right now will be the second box. So when I cut the second one, I'm going to cut it a little bit differently. So what it does is you have just this little tiny piece that didn't cut down here. So this, as you can see, if you go from, you're just missing this little nubby area here. So this time when I run this one through, let me just chuck that part. I'm going to actually do this one the opposite way. So I'm going to cut this part first. Hopefully this will match up. So I'm going to cut, let me think, because we want this part here. So I'm going to cut to just here where that little nub is. And then I will go back and measure out the rest of it. Hopefully I'll get it lined up correctly. And if this one doesn't work out, what I'll do is I will do an additional video. So basically now, if we were to have this piece here, so this is where we want it to line up. So maybe we can get one of these little nubs out. Get rid of this extra piece here. So we want that to line up. So then what we're going to do is we're going to line this up here. Trying to make sure that that's actually on my line. So I'm going to try it this way. So let's see, where are we right about here. Yeah, it's still not going to end up with the lines in the exact spot. So I kind of guess whichever way you're doing it. Sometimes partial die cutting is a little bit of a pain in the hiney. Specifically if you're not doing something, pull this extra piece out, if you're not doing something that is a simple straight line. So now I don't want to recut this because it's going to cut the ends of it off, so I'm going to just do it this way. Let's see if I can make this line up to work. If not, I will go back and do another version. All right, let's see if it cut. So these should, in order to get them to line up correctly. I'm just trimming this little nib off, but these should line up. Actually, believe it or not, that's pretty good considering. So I am going to go back and film an additional new video that'll kind of show you a little bit easier of how to do this. So basically, we'll put the larger one together first because this is how you would do a regular one. You don't really need your bone folder, but I'm going to use it because I find that when you have creased lines, it tends to work a little bit better. Couple of these things are kind of weird where in the beginning I was like, what the heck is this thing for? You don't have to crease these triangle portions ahead of time, but I just did because I found that it stuck a slight bit easier. So same thing again, just kind of folding on the score lines. And the only thing you do want to remember is whatever it is that you're going to stick in here, it's very easy to open and close again. So if you forget to fill it, it is easy to fill. But if you tie it with ribbon, that's when you want to be careful. So I'm going to take my silicone mat, and I did have my tear and tape. Tear and tape is a little bit big. So if you have a thinner double stick tape, you could use that. But I'm just going to fold mine over. I'll kind of show you what I did. And you are going to need some adhesive on this other little flap. Now when you do the mini one, it doesn't work out quite as well. So you're going to need a little piece right here. And you kind of have to DIY your bottom to get it to stick together. All right, so just making sure these are all pressed down. I'm going to pull this. Now when I pull these off, and I'll bring it up so I can show you. I think these would be really good though. If you do need something for last minute Christmas, like to put something in, you could definitely use these. So I'm just going to take this and flip the adhesive so it flips back on each other. And I am going to go ahead and take the release paper off of this little bottom triangle too. So that's why I'm using the silicone mat. That way, worst case scenario, it doesn't stick to anything. So I'm just taking this part and lining it up with the tabs. You can do this with liquid glue. I did earlier, but I do tell you it takes a little bit for it to stick. So you definitely have to have time to kind of hold it where you want it for a moment. So if you don't have time, don't use liquid glue. That's kind of why I decided I wasn't going to do it when I filmed the video. So same thing again. I'm just kind of rolling these back. And then I'm going to line this up once again. Just like so. Make sure you have it lined up how you think you want it, and then press. Okay, so now this is the top. This part here is the top, and this is the bottom. So you're going to put these two flaps, push these in, and you're going to put these two flaps down and kind of press in. Okay, and then this tear and tape will automatically stick. And then what I usually do just to make sure I got it is I press with my bone folder in those corners. So that way it sticks very well. Okay, and then all you do is push this down and you pop, this goes in here. You could also decorate this with DSP. So that's the regular size box, okay? So that's the bigger box. So there's that one. So now I'm going to show you how to do the smaller one. So this is only a little bit more difficult because the spots to line up, specifically the bottom, aren't exactly the same. Again, this is kind of fold out. I find that if you do crease these, it does make it close a little bit easier, but it's not necessarily necessary. You could certainly do it when you fold it down. I'll do this one. I just want to make sure these are nice and creased because it does make them stick a little better. Okay, let's see if we got everything except this one. Okay, so same thing again. I'm going to go ahead and put tear and tape on these little tabs here. And the nice part about this is, like I said, you could add DSP if you want. You don't have to. However, would like make it look cute. You could stamp the outside of the box before you put it together. If you want to do like some tone on tone, you could stamp something in Pineapple Punch if you'd like. So for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, but I want to make sure I did this correctly because I put glue and then it ended up not sticking as well as I thought. So I ended up having to add some additional glue. So let me just see. Where did I put it? So when you put this together, it's going to go like that. And like that. And this piece is going to go here. So you kind of do need a little piece of adhesive here as well. So I'm just going to put a little piece of tear and tape, because I don't want it to be too sticky that the bottom is it's going to make stuff stick inside of it. So just a little piece of tear and tape in here. So this is going to be the bottom part again. So once more, just peel off the release paper on all of these. Kind of fold it over. Same on this one. And then I'll take the other bottom off. There we go. Take these two off. I'm sorry, normally I would get out my take your pick tool, but I'm kind of crunched on time, so I don't want to accidentally knock anything over. All right, so now I'm going to just line up my tabs. Okay, same thing on this one. Since I took the release paper off, that's why I'm not putting this flat. Oops. Making sure that's, for the most part, lined up square. That way it'll stick a little bit easier. So just pressing that. Okay, and then same thing again. So I'm going to fold both of these tabs in, even though these aren't the exact size. And I'm just going to fold this down. And what you could do is you probably could put this little tab kind of underneath, so it'll at least have these, both of these spots pretty much mirror each other. And then press. And then same thing again, I'm just going to press with my bone folder. Make sure I got adhesive in those little spots. And then you're going to kind of push it together. Squeeze and press down. Oops. There they go. And they go in there pretty simply. Actually, this one's a little bit smaller, so that's even smaller. So you could do multiple stacks. Now this one, as you can see, I didn't put this one together quite as well because of the way I ended up taping it. So it's not as nice of a line up here, where this one is really nicely lined up. This one I did with liquid glue, so it probably ended up slipping right before it ended up sticking together. But you could continue making these smaller. So you could go with smaller, like 3 different, I know that's not very much size difference there, but, or you can make this one a little bit bigger if you wanted to, whichever the case may be. But there are those boxes. So you certainly can make them in different size. I also did see a girl who made a longer version. So if it was, say, about like this and a half. So it was probably about 1.5. So you can make it longer. And if you're going to do that, all you're going to do is when you cut, you're going to cut probably to about here. So you would put your cutting plate about here, and then you would just move the whole thing down again, and then you would cut up to meet it. That way you could make these parts longer. The other thing you could do if you wanted to is you could even score it with your either your Simply Scored or your Stampin' Trimmer, and then just tab off the edges if you liked. But I think the fact that when it gives this is nice, but if not, there's also an alternative here that you could just glue the whole bottom down. So I hope that you have found this helpful. Whoever asked me to make this box and make the second tutorial, I am sorry it took me so long. However, I was just trying to make sure that I got most of the stuff accomplished that I was trying to thus far. But since this was something handy, I thought, well, I'll make this real quick. So I appreciate you all making suggestions whenever you do. So feel free, if you have an idea or something that you want to see done, you can always ask me. It just might take me a little bit to do it, but I'm more than happy to share with you how to get it done. If you have any questions, you can always send me an email at rachthestamper@gmail.com. And if you'd like to get this, again, it does have a coordinating stamp set. So if you purchase those two together, you will get an additional 10% off as a bundle. That's only valid through the catalog, which ends, I believe, June 2nd. So if you buy it before then, it will be a bundle. If you are seeing this video after June 2nd, you probably still can purchase this, but it might not be available as a bundle any longer. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you again real soon.